It had been a grueling day, one of those days that seemed to stretch endlessly, filled with board meetings, investment reviews, and high-stakes negotiations. Jonathan Everhart, a billionaire whose name carried weight in every corner of the financial world, drove home in silence, the city lights reflecting off the sleek black leather of his car interior. The evening sky had shifted to a deep indigo, punctuated by streaks of fading sunlight that reminded him of childhood summers he no longer remembered clearly. Usually he would take time to unwind, perhaps a glass of scotch in his study, the soft hum of the city below soothing his mind. But tonight felt different, heavier somehow. He had an uneasy feeling in the pit of his stomach, one that he could neither name nor ignore. Jonathan's mansion loomed ahead, sprawling and immaculate, the result of years of relentless effort. But as he approached the front drive, something felt off. The lights were dimmed in rooms that were usually aglow, and the garden sprinklers were off, leaving the lawn slightly wilted. A subtle anxiety crept into him, gnawing at the edges of his carefully curated calm. He parked, his footsteps unusually hesitant as he approached the grand double doors. Pushing the door open, he expected silence, perhaps the low hum of air conditioning. Instead, he was met with a sight that rooted him to the spot. His housekeeper, an elderly woman named Maria who had been with the family for decades, stood frozen in the entryway, clutching a tray of untouched dinner dishes. Her face was pale, her eyes wide, reflecting a mixture of fear and sorrow that Jonathan had never seen before. Behind her, the living room was chaotic in a way that made his chest tighten. Furniture slightly askew, cushions scattered, and a faint smell of smoke lingering in the air. "Jonathan," Maria whispered, her voice trembling, "you shouldn't have been out tonight." Her hands shook as she placed the tray down. He frowned, confusion clouding his mind. "Why, what happened?" Before she could answer, a sound came from the staircase, a soft, almost imperceptible sob. Jonathan's heart skipped a beat. His daughter, Emily, only 12, was supposed to be at her piano lesson. How could she be here crying? His steps quickened as he moved toward the stairs, the floorboards creaking under his weight. Emily was at the top of the staircase, sitting on the railing, hugging her knees to her chest. Tears streamed down her face, and her small shoulders shook with silent sobs. Jonathan froze, the sight breaking something inside him. His normally composed demeanor cracked, replaced by a raw paternal panic. "Emily," he called softly, careful not to startle her. She looked up, her eyes red and swollen, filled with a pain that no child should ever carry alone. "Dad?" she whispered, her voice trembling. It's Mom." Jonathan's breath caught in his throat. His mind raced, heart hammering violently. Emily's mother, Victoria, had passed away in a car accident 3 years ago, an event so devastating it had left a permanent shadow on their lives. But Emily's words carried an urgency, a fear he couldn't immediately comprehend. "What do you mean, Emily? Your mother, she—" His voice trailed off, unable to finish. Emily pointed toward the family room, and Jonathan followed her gaze. There, in the dim light, stood a woman he did not recognize, tall, elegant, with a striking presence that immediately commanded attention. But it was not her appearance that shocked him. It was the fact that she was holding a letter in her hands, one addressed to him, his name written in a familiar handwriting he had not seen in years. "Dad?" "She came," Emily whispered, her voice almost inaudible. She said, it's time you know the truth." Jonathan's hands shook as he reached for the letter. The envelope was thick, heavy, and sealed with wax, the emblem pressed into it familiar yet unsettling. He felt the weight of anticipation, of fear mingling with an inexplicable hope. Slowly he broke the seal and unfolded the letter. The words on the page were precise, almost clinical, but each sentence seemed to echo through his very soul. As he read, his mind struggled to process the revelations, secrets buried deep in the past, lies that had shaped his life without his knowing. The letter spoke of betrayals, sacrifices, and hidden connections that made the very foundation of his existence tremble. His knees buckled slightly, and he sank into the nearest chair, Emily rushing to his side. "Dad, what does it say?" she asked, fear and curiosity mingling in her small voice. Jonathan looked at her, tears forming unbidden, a storm of emotions he had long suppressed rising violently. It's about your mother," he managed to whisper. "About who she really was, and what she wanted me to know before she left us." A question formed in his mind, burning, impossible to ignore. How many of the moments I cherished were real, and how many were part of a story I wasn't meant to understand until now? He looked at Emily, her eyes wide with innocent trust, and he realized that whatever this truth was, it was bigger than both of them. The next steps would determine everything: their understanding of the past, their future together, and perhaps the meaning of love and family itself. Jonathan folded the letter slowly, the weight of it pressing on him like never before. Outside, the night deepened, and the mansion felt simultaneously familiar and alien, as if reality had shifted in the brief moments of his absence. One thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. Jonathan sat frozen, the letter trembling in his hands as Emily clung to his side. The woman in the living room, elegant yet stern, took a step forward, her presence commanding but gentle. "Mr. Everhart," she began, her voice steady but carrying a weight that made Jonathan's heart thud violently. "I am someone who knew Victoria better than anyone. I've been waiting years for the right time to deliver this message. Tonight, it seems, is that night." Emily hid her face in her father's shoulder, sensing the gravity of the moment but too young to fully understand it. Jonathan's mind raced. Who was this woman? And how could she hold the key to truths about his late wife? He forced himself to remain composed, though the storm of emotions inside him was overwhelming. Shock, fear, grief, and a flicker of hope that somehow, understanding the past might mend some of the pain that had never fully healed. The woman continued, her eyes locking with Jonathan's. "Victoria, your wife was not just the woman you loved. She carried a burden, one she could not share with anyone, not even you. She devoted her life to protecting a secret that could change everything you think you know about your family." Jonathan's chest tightened. He wanted to speak, to demand answers, but words failed him. Instead, he simply nodded, signaling for her to continue. The woman's gaze softened as she noticed Emily's tear-streaked face. "And this child," she said, reaching out gently, "must know the truth as well. It is not easy, but it is necessary." Jonathan felt a lump form in his throat. He looked down at Emily, then back at the mysterious woman. What secret?" he finally managed to whisper. She handed him a small velvet-covered box. Jonathan's hands shook as he opened it, revealing a collection of letters, photographs, and a delicate locket engraved with Victoria's initials. Each piece seemed ordinary, but as he sifted through them, a tapestry of hidden life began to emerge. There were photographs of Victoria with strangers, letters filled with cryptic messages, and documents hinting at a past Jonathan had never suspected. A past filled with sacrifice, bravery, and choices she had made in secret to protect them. Emily leaned closer, her small hands resting on the edge of the box. "Dad, what does it say?" she asked, curiosity and fear blending in her voice. Jonathan swallowed hard, fighting to maintain his composure. It says that your mother was protecting us," he said finally, "but it also says she had enemies, people who could hurt us if they ever discovered what she knew." A cold shiver ran down his spine as he realized the implication. His life, their life, had been under the shadow of danger all along. He looked at Emily, his heart aching at the thought of her having lived these years without knowing the full truth about her mother. "Emily," he said softly, "your mother loved us so much, but she had to hide a part of herself to keep us safe. Do you understand that?" Emily nodded slowly, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I think so. But why didn't she tell us?" Jonathan swallowed, fighting the lump in his throat. Because sometimes the truth is too heavy to carry until the right moment. Until someone is ready. "And tonight it seems we are ready." The woman in the room finally spoke again. Victoria left instructions for everything. She wanted Jonathan to have these letters when the time was right. She knew the day would come when the truth could no longer be hidden. Jonathan carefully unfolded one of the letters, his eyes scanning the familiar handwriting. It spoke of choices Victoria had made, decisions to protect her family from people who would have exploited her knowledge, to shield Jonathan from financial and personal attacks, and to ensure Emily grew up in safety. The depth of her love overwhelmed him. He realized that every moment of her absence had been shaped by this unseen force, a silent guardian, keeping them safe even from afar. Emily leaned against him, whispering, "Dad, do you think Mom knew we'd be okay without her?" Jonathan held her tighter, tears finally escaping. I think she believed in us, but she also made sure we'd have the truth when the time came. And that time is now. The woman then placed a hand gently on Jonathan's shoulder. There is one more thing, she said quietly. Something she could not reveal in writing. It involves someone very close, someone you trust. You need to know before it's too late. Jonathan's heart raced, fear and anticipation twisting together. Who is it? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The woman's eyes met his with an intensity that made his stomach churn. It is someone who has been in your life since before Victoria passed. Someone whose intentions may not be what they appear. Victoria wanted you to have the chance to protect yourself and Emily. That is why she left these letters, these clues, for you to uncover her secret. Emily, sensing the tension, asked, Dad, will we be okay? Jonathan looked down at her, swallowing hard. Yeah, we will be okay. Mom's love has been guiding us all along. And now we have a chance to see the full picture, to finally understand her life, her sacrifices, and the depth of her love. But even as he spoke, a gnawing unease took hold. The idea that someone close to them could be a threat was terrifying. He glanced at the woman, silently asking for guidance. She simply nodded. The next steps will reveal everything, but it will not be easy. You must be strong for Emily, for yourself, and for the memory of Victoria. Jonathan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He looked at Emily, her eyes wide but trusting, and realized that the road ahead would test them in ways they had never imagined. The comfort of their home now felt fragile, as though the walls themselves held secrets waiting to emerge. He opened another letter, and this one detailed the names of people involved in Victoria's secret life, the threats she had faced, and instructions she had left for Jonathan in case those threats ever resurfaced. His mind spun. The life he had thought he knew, the safe, orderly world of wealth and influence, was only a surface, hiding a web of danger, loyalty, and sacrifice. Jonathan looked at Emily, her small hand in his. We have to be careful, he said softly. Mom protected us for years. Now it's our turn. Emily nodded, courage shining through her fear. We'll do it together, Dad. Jonathan felt a surge of love and determination. Whatever secrets awaited them, whatever truths needed uncovering, he knew one thing: they would face it together, bound by the memory of Victoria's unwavering love and the unbreakable bond between father and daughter. A question lingered in his mind as he held Emily close. How far would he go to protect the child who was his world? And what sacrifices would he have to make to honor the truth of her mother's legacy? B. Jonathan sat in his study, the dim light of the desk lamp casting long shadows across the room. Emily had gone to bed hours ago, exhausted but restless, while Jonathan pored over the letters and photographs Victoria had left behind. Each piece revealed more layers of her secret life: meetings with unknown individuals, financial documents indicating hidden assets, and coded messages hinting at alliances and threats that Jonathan had never imagined. The magnitude of her careful planning and the dangers she had shielded them from left him breathless. He couldn't shake the warning from the mysterious woman's words. Someone close to him, someone he had trusted implicitly, could be a threat. The thought gnawed at him, chipping away at the sense of safety his mansion had always provided. Jonathan's mind raced as he considered everyone he interacted with: his business partners, his personal assistants, his closest friends, and even long-standing family advisors. Could it really be that someone so familiar harbored intentions against him and Emily? As he sifted through the letters, one particular envelope caught his attention. It was thick, heavier than the others, sealed with a golden wax emblem that bore Victoria's personal insignia. Inside was a detailed list of names, dates, and locations, meticulously recorded, almost obsessive in their precision. But what stood out most was the notation beside one name: "Trust must be verified. Danger lies within the circle." Jonathan's heart pounded. The circle. Could she mean his inner circle of confidence, the people he had relied on for years? He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples, trying to steady the whirlwind of thoughts. Emily's safety was paramount, yet the thought that someone close to them could be a threat made every familiar face suspect. He realized that Victoria had left this as a test, forcing him to confront reality with both caution and courage. The next morning, Jonathan decided he needed clarity. He called in his most trusted assistant, Martin, a man who had been with him for over a decade. Martin had managed his schedule, finances, and private matters with unwavering loyalty, or so Jonathan had believed. "Martin," Jonathan began cautiously, "I need you to be completely honest with me about everything. There's something important I need to understand about the people around us." Martin looked puzzled but nodded. "Of course, sir. You know I would never withhold anything from you." Jonathan's mind flashed to Victoria's warning. Was Martin truly trustworthy, or was he the hidden threat? He pushed the thought aside, focusing on gathering information methodically. "I need you to go through these documents," Jonathan said, handing over the letters and photographs. "I need a full report. Any inconsistencies, any unusual connections, anything that seems off." As Martin took the documents, Jonathan felt a sense of unease. He realized that trust, something he had taken for granted, now had to be measured against evidence, observation, and instinct. Every interaction could be a clue. Every subtle hesitation or choice of words could reveal a hidden truth. Later that evening, Jonathan returned to the living room where Emily was quietly drawing at the table. Her focus was intense, but when she looked up, her small eyes reflected concern. "Dad," she asked softly, "do you think someone could be trying to hurt us?" Jonathan knelt beside her, his heart aching at the fear in her voice. "Emily," he said gently, "we're safe, but Mom wanted us to be prepared. There are people who might not have our best interests at heart, and it's my job to protect you. We have to be careful and watchful, just like Mom taught us, even if we didn't realize it at the time." Emily nodded solemnly, her tiny hand slipping into his. "Will it be scary?" she asked, her voice trembling. Jonathan smiled faintly, though the weight of truth pressed down on him. "Sometimes it will be scary, Emily, but love makes us brave. And we have each other." That night, Jonathan stayed awake long after Emily had fallen asleep, analyzing the documents and retracing Victoria's steps. He discovered meeting notes, financial transfers, and even correspondence that suggested someone in his inner circle had been keeping tabs on their family. The realization was chilling. He could feel the presence of eyes watching, waiting, as if the walls themselves held secrets. The next day, Jonathan decided to confront a potential suspect, someone whose behavior had always seemed loyal but now felt subtly manipulative. He arranged a meeting under the pretense of reviewing a business proposal. As the individual arrived, Jonathan studied every expression, every nuance of body language. His mind replayed Victoria's letters. Observe carefully. Trust instincts over appearances. During the meeting, subtle questions were exchanged, seemingly casual, but Jonathan's mind dissected every word. He noticed a hesitation, a micro-expression of guilt or fear, that only someone who had read Victoria's letters might recognize as a sign of deception. His pulse quickened. Could this be the person, the one Victoria had warned him about? A question formed in his mind, gnawing at him relentlessly. How do you confront a person you've trusted for years when the evidence suggests they could destroy everything you hold dear? The meeting ended inconclusively, but Jonathan's instincts told him something critical. The warning was real, and danger was closer than he had ever imagined. That night he resolved to take action, not impulsively but methodically, carefully tracking movements, cross-referencing documents, and uncovering hidden connections. Every step had to be precise. One misstep could put Emily in jeopardy. Jonathan's world had shifted irreversibly. The mansion, once a symbol of wealth and security, now felt like a fortress under siege. Emily's laughter and innocence were fragile shields against forces he could not yet fully see. And through it all, the memory of Victoria's love and her meticulous planning remained his guiding light, a reminder that courage and vigilance were their only paths forward. As Jonathan looked out over the city from the study window, a storm of emotions surged within him: fear, anger, determination, and an unshakable resolve to protect Emily at all costs. He knew that the next steps would be perilous, but he also understood that uncovering the truth was the only way to honor Victoria's legacy. Jonathan whispered to himself, a vow carried on the night air: "I will not fail you, Victoria, and I will protect our daughter no matter the cost." The following days were a blur for Jonathan Everhart. Every phone call, every visitor, and even casual emails became potential clues in the intricate web Victoria had left behind. Sleep eluded him as he meticulously tracked movements, cross-referenced transactions, and pieced together the cryptic notes from the letters. Emily, though perceptive beyond her years, noticed her father's exhaustion and the weight that hung over him like a storm cloud. She remained quiet most days, occasionally sitting beside him as he worked through late-night investigations, drawing sketches or quietly reading, her presence a small comfort amidst the chaos. One evening, as Jonathan reviewed a series of documents that hinted at unauthorized access to his personal accounts, the woman who had initially delivered Victoria's letters returned. She entered the study without knocking, her expression grave. "Jonathan," she said softly, "you've identified the person. But you need to understand this isn't just a betrayal of trust. It's a danger to your family's very life." Jonathan's fists clenched around the papers in his hands. "I know," he replied through gritted teeth. "I've noticed discrepancies, subtle manipulations in financial accounts and messages that don't add up. I can feel it. Someone is orchestrating things behind the scenes, someone who wants to control or harm us." The woman nodded, stepping closer. Victoria's letters warned of this. She could not act directly, because the person has influence and resources. But she prepared a plan, contingencies to protect you and Emily. You need to follow her guidance exactly. Jonathan took a deep breath, trying to steady the adrenaline coursing through him. He looked at Emily, who had quietly entered the room, sensing the tension. Her wide eyes sought reassurance. "Dad, is everything okay?" she asked softly. Jonathan knelt down, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Emily, we're safe, but we have to be careful. Some people you thought were friends might not be who they seem. It's up to us to make sure nothing happens to our family." Emily nodded slowly, absorbing the gravity of the situation, and returned to her room, trusting her father, but aware that the world had grown more complicated. Jonathan remained in the study, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. Every decision from this point forward could be critical. Late that night, Jonathan received an encrypted message on his private device, something he had not expected. The sender was the individual Victoria had warned him about. The message was brief but chilling. "Stop digging or face consequences. Some truths are better left buried." His pulse quickened. The threat was real. Someone close had the audacity to confront him, daring him to stop. Jonathan's mind raced, thinking of every interaction over the past weeks, replaying conversations and small details that had previously seemed innocuous. Now each smile, each word, could mask deception and danger. He realized he needed to act carefully. He couldn't rush into confrontation blindly. Emily's safety was paramount. Jonathan devised a plan, following the strategy Victoria had meticulously outlined. He began monitoring the suspect discreetly, observing patterns, movements, and interactions. Every detail mattered. Every slip could reveal the truth. Days later, Jonathan orchestrated a meeting under controlled circumstances, inviting the suspect to his office for a discussion that seemed innocuous but was designed to test loyalty. The tension in the room was palpable. Jonathan's heart raced, his mind running through scenarios, weighing reactions, and anticipating deceit. The conversation began calmly, almost like any routine business discussion, but Jonathan's observations were relentless. Every hesitation, every carefully chosen word, and every flicker of the eyes was noted. Slowly, the pieces began to fit together, the signs of manipulation, the subtle control of information, and the careful orchestration of events all pointed to the truth Victoria had warned him about. Finally, Jonathan could no longer hide his awareness. "I know what you've been doing," he said firmly, his voice steady but laced with resolve. "I know the games you've played, the lies, the attempts to control my family's life. And it ends now." The suspect's face betrayed a flash of surprise, quickly replaced by a composed facade. "Jonathan," the individual replied smoothly, "I'm not sure what you think you know. Be careful. Accusations without proof can be dangerous." Jonathan leaned forward, the intensity in his eyes leaving no room for doubt. "I have proof," he said, sliding a folder across the table. "Everything you've done, every attempt to manipulate or threaten us, it's all documented. Victoria prepared this because she knew this day could come. You underestimated her and you underestimated me. A tense silence filled the room. The suspect's lips pressed into a thin line, their posture stiffening. Jonathan's pulse was steady now, fueled by clarity and the protective instinct for Emily. He realized that fear and anger alone were not enough. Precision, evidence, and strategic planning were his weapons. Later, after the confrontation, Jonathan returned home, exhausted but resolute. Emily was waiting for him, her eyes wide with concern. "Dad, did you stop them?" she asked softly. Jonathan knelt beside her, holding her close. "We've started, Emily. Victoria left us tools, guidance, and warnings to keep us safe. The first step is done, but we have to remain vigilant. The truth is powerful, and so is the love that guides us. That love will protect us no matter what comes." Emily nodded, her small hand gripping his. "I want to help too," she whispered, a mix of courage and innocence shining through. Jonathan smiled, tears forming in his eyes. "You already are helping, Emily. Just by being who you are and by trusting me, you give me strength." But even as they embraced, Jonathan knew the road ahead would be treacherous. The person Victoria had warned him about would not give up easily, and the danger looming over their family was far from over. Every action, every choice would require courage, wisdom, and an unwavering bond between father and daughter. A question lingered in Jonathan's mind as he watched Emily sleep that night. How far would he go to protect her innocence? And what sacrifices would he be willing to make to confront the darkness that had been hidden so close to home? The days that followed the confrontation were tense and heavy with unease. Jonathan Everhart moved through his mansion with a heightened awareness. Every shadow, every sound, and every step amplified in his mind. Emily sensed the change in her father, the vigilance that had replaced his usual calm, and though she tried to remain cheerful, she too felt the weight of a hidden storm. Their home, once a sanctuary, had become a place of vigilance, strategy, and careful observation. Jonathan spent hours reviewing documents, letters, and photographs Victoria had left behind. Each revelation added layers of complexity to his understanding of her life, the sacrifices she had made, and the threats she had shielded them from. But there remained a gnawing question. Who within their circle of trust could pose such danger? Every ally now seemed potentially suspect, every friendly face a mask concealing hidden intentions. Late one evening, Jonathan discovered a detail that made his blood run cold. Among Victoria's meticulously preserved letters was correspondence revealing a hidden connection between the trusted assistant he had initially doubted and a shadowy figure with a history of manipulating powerful families. The evidence was unmistakable. Financial transfers, coded messages, and discreet meetings meticulously documented. It was the betrayal Jonathan had feared, but never wanted to confront. Someone he had relied on, someone who had been a constant presence in their lives, was complicit in plotting against them. Jonathan felt a wave of disbelief and heartbreak. How could someone so close, someone he had trusted implicitly, harbor intentions that threatened Emily's safety and their entire life? The realization hit with the force of a tidal wave. He sank into his chair, letters trembling in his hands. His mind racing through memories, trying to reconcile past trust with present evidence. Every moment shared with this person, every word, now carried a shadow of deception. Emily, sensing her father's distress, entered the study quietly. "Dad, what is it?" she asked softly, her voice tinged with worry. Jonathan took a deep breath, forcing a steady tone as he looked at her. "Emily, there is someone who we trusted, someone who meant a lot to us, but it seems they were not who we believed. It is a betrayal that comes from someone very close, and we must be cautious." Emily's eyes widened and she whispered, "But why would they do that?" Jonathan knelt beside her, his hand brushing back her hair. "Sometimes people make choices out of greed, fear, or desire for power. Your mother warned us this day might come. She knew that understanding the truth would be painful, but necessary. And now we must be brave and protect ourselves." He felt the weight of responsibility heavier than ever. Victoria's careful planning had been brilliant, but it relied on Jonathan's judgment, courage, and ability to act decisively. The betrayal was a test, not just of strategy, but of character, of love, and of his commitment to protect Emily at all costs. The next day, Jonathan arranged a controlled meeting with the betrayer, choosing a neutral location that allowed him to maintain control while minimizing risk to Emily. Every detail had been planned meticulously, guided by Victoria's instructions. As the individual arrived, Jonathan studied their posture, noting subtle signs of unease that confirmed the evidence he had gathered. "Jonathan," the person said smoothly, attempting casual familiarity, "I hear you've been digging through old matters. Perhaps you should be careful. Some truths are complicated." Jonathan's eyes narrowed, his resolve hardening. "I've seen the documents. I know about the connections, the manipulations and the risks you've posed to my family. This ends now." The betrayer's calm demeanor faltered slightly, a flicker of surprise and calculation crossing their face. Jonathan pressed forward, unwavering, presenting the evidence piece by piece. Each revelation was a hammer blow, exposing years of deception, manipulation, and hidden agendas. As the meeting progressed, Jonathan realized that the confrontation was not only about revealing the betrayal, but also about reclaiming power and control over their lives. The individual's attempts to justify or evade responsibility crumbled under the weight of Victoria's meticulous preparation. Every lie unraveled, and the truth shone through. Returning home, Jonathan felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. Emily was waiting for him, her eyes reflecting concern and curiosity. "Dad, is it over?" she asked softly. Jonathan held her tightly, drawing strength from her presence. "It's over for now, Emily, but we must remain vigilant. People make choices, some good, some harmful, and it is up to us to protect ourselves and honor the love that has always guided our family." He realized that Victoria's letters, instructions and warnings were more than guidance. They were a testament to her love, her foresight, and her unwavering commitment to their safety. Jonathan understood that her legacy was not just in memories, but in actionable wisdom, empowering him to navigate a world filled with both loyalty and betrayal. That night, as Emily slept peacefully, Jonathan reflected on the trials they had faced. The betrayal had been painful, yet it had revealed the depth of Victoria's love and the strength within himself. He knew that the journey ahead would continue to test them, but he also knew that the bond between father and daughter, fortified by trust, courage, and love, would carry them through even the darkest moments. A question lingered in Jonathan's heart, echoing in the quiet of the night. How much pain could one endure to protect the ones you love, and how far would you go to ensure that love triumphs over betrayal? The days following the revelation of betrayal were filled with tense planning, calculated actions, and a quiet vigilance that never left Jonathan Everhart. Every move he made was deliberate, guided by the wisdom Victoria had embedded in her letters and the careful observations he had recorded. He was no longer simply a billionaire concerned with wealth and status. He was a father, a protector, and the guardian of a legacy carefully curated by the woman he had loved and lost. Emily remained close, shadowing him as best she could, her presence a reminder of why every decision mattered. Jonathan marveled at her resilience, how even after confronting truths that would have shaken most adults, she remained a beacon of innocence and courage. Each evening, he would tell her stories about Victoria, carefully choosing memories that spoke of love, bravery, and sacrifice. Emily listened intently, her eyes wide, absorbing the essence of the mother she had lost, but was learning to know through Jonathan's words and Victoria's letters. The final confrontation with the betrayer was inevitable. Jonathan arranged it strategically, ensuring Emily's safety while positioning himself to reclaim control. The meeting took place in a secluded location, monitored discreetly, and every precaution was taken. When the individual arrived, their usual confidence faltered under the scrutiny of someone who had uncovered every lie, traced every manipulation, and predicted every move. Jonathan's voice was calm but firm. "It's over. You've been given every opportunity to choose a different path, but your actions have consequences. I know everything. Victoria's warnings, the letters, the plans she left to protect my family. You underestimated her, and you underestimated me." The betrayer hesitated, realizing that their influence, deception, and schemes had been meticulously dismantled. Jonathan presented the final evidence, each piece reinforcing the undeniable truth. The individual's eyes flickered with fear, desperation, and perhaps a sliver of regret. It was a moment of triumph, not only for Jonathan but for Victoria's enduring wisdom and love. Returning home, Jonathan felt the weight of the crisis lift slightly, though he remained vigilant. Emily ran to him, her small arms wrapping around his waist. "Dad, is it really over?" she asked, her voice full of hope and tentative relief. Jonathan knelt, embracing her tightly. "Yes, Emily, it's over. We're safe. Mom's love, her guidance, and our courage have protected us. The danger is gone, and now we can move forward together." Over the following days, Jonathan immersed himself in consolidating Victoria's legacy. He catalogued every letter, document, and photograph, creating a safe archive of knowledge, protection strategies, and memories for Emily. It was more than an inheritance. It was a guide, a testament to love, foresight, and sacrifice. He realized that Victoria had given them a map for life, a roadmap to navigate challenges with courage, clarity, and compassion. One afternoon, as the sun poured through the large windows of the mansion, Jonathan and Emily sat together in the garden. Emily held the locket Victoria had left behind, tracing the initials delicately. "Dad," she asked softly, "do you think Mom is proud of us?" Jonathan smiled, tears brimming in his eyes. "I know she is, Emily. She prepared us, guided us, and now we carry her love and her strength with us. Every choice we make honors her memory." He realized then that the trials they had faced, the revelations, the betrayals, the dangers, had not only tested them, but had strengthened them. The bond between father and daughter, forged through adversity and fortified by love, was unbreakable. Jonathan understood that protecting Emily meant more than shielding her from harm. It meant teaching her resilience, courage, and the enduring power of love. The mansion, once a place shadowed by fear and uncertainty, now felt alive with the presence of Victoria's spirit. Every room, every photograph, every letter was a reminder that love, vigilance, and truth were intertwined. Jonathan and Emily moved through the house with a renewed sense of purpose, their steps guided by memories, lessons, and the unwavering belief that family, bonded by love, could overcome any challenge. One evening, as they looked out over the city skyline, Jonathan whispered softly to Emily, "Your mother gave us everything we needed to survive, to thrive, and to love. And now it's our turn to carry that forward, to protect each other and to honor her legacy every single day." Emily rested her head on his shoulder, her small hand clutching the locket. "I'll always be brave, Dad. Just like Mum," she said. Jonathan held her close, feeling a profound sense of peace for the first time since Victoria's passing. The danger was gone, the betrayal confronted and the truth fully revealed. They had survived the storm, and the love that had guided them through darkness now illuminated their path forward. He realized that life would continue to present challenges, but nothing could shake the bond forged through courage, love, and unwavering trust. Victoria's legacy was not just the letters or the secrets, it was the love she had left behind, a force stronger than fear, stronger than betrayal, and stronger than any obstacle that might come their way. Jonathan looked at Emily, her eyes reflecting hope, resilience, and the promise of a bright future. He knew without a doubt that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, carrying the lessons, love, and legacy of the woman who had shaped their lives even from beyond the grave. A final thought lingered in Jonathan's heart as he watched Emily sleep peacefully that night. Love, courage, and truth are the strongest legacies one can leave, and protecting them is the greatest gift we can give to those we cherish.